Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the brand new Land Rover Defender 130. Basically the XXL version of the Defender. This is basically the longest, the tallest, the widest car that you can get at the moment here in Europe. And even in America, they would consider this car to be quite large. Now this is a completely new version of the Defender, and in this video I'm going to do a quick tour around the car, and I'm also going to show you the interior, and I'm going to show you what sets this car apart from a regular Defender. So this is the Land Rover Defender 130. What really sets this car apart from the Defender 90 and the 110 is the fact that this car is even bigger. Now, they started out with the 90 and the 110 a couple of years ago. The 90 is the short wheelbase Defender with 3 doors, and the 110 is the larger wheelbase car with 5 doors. This car still has the same wheelbase, but it is a little bit longer because it just has a little bit more overhang here. And not a little bit, actually quite a lot. This car is a lot longer than the 110. This car is actually 5 meters and 35 centimeters. But if you also take into account the spare wheel here in the back, which is a full-size wheel, it is not a space saver. This car is actually longer than 5.5 meters, which is just exceptionally large. Here in Europe, we don't get cars like this. The extra room in the back means that this car has more luggage capacity, but also that this car can carry more people, because this car can fit up to 8 people. And again, that's just pretty special here in Europe. But before we're going to look in the interior and at the luggage space, let's do a quick tour around the car and let me quickly refresh your minds on how the Defender looks like. Let's start with the front end design on this new Defender 130. Now, if you know anything about this car, you know that they really haven't changed much or really anything about the design here on the front end of the car. But if you haven't seen a Defender for a while, let me quickly take you through the exterior design of this car. Now, as you can see, the front end design still kind of resembles the old school design of the old school Defender. So for example, you still get the round headlights here, or rather you get the round daylight running lights here. Within the center you get the headlights. The car, I would say, still has a pretty friendly face, but at the same time it's actually quite mean, and that's basically because the car has really wide wheel arches. As you can see, they're massive. Again, especially for Europe, this car is so wide. On the bonnet you got Defender spelled out in full on the complete width of the bonnet, and here you got the Land Rover logo. This is actually plastic, and not because Land Rover wants to save some money here, but because this is for safety reasons. So if you would get in an accident with this car as a pedestrian, this will break and not your head. So that's why this is plastic, and it still looks kind of cool, I'd say. Now let's look at the side of the car. As I said, this car is about 5.5 meters long, which makes it so large. Now you can quickly see where all the extra centimeters went to. It all went to the back. This car has a pretty short overhang, which makes this car ideal for off-roading, because let's not forget, this is one of the best off-roaders in the world. But now on the back, this car has a very big overhang. It actually looks a little bit like a Kardashian version, so to speak, because the tail end of this car is, well, massive. It is a bit out of proportion, I'd say. It's a bit too big, I guess. Some people would say it looks a bit weird. I actually don't mind. I like the fact that this car is so big and it has such a big overhang. Now let's look at the back end design. As you can see, you still got the flat back of the car, just like the previous Defender, like the old school Defender. And as I said, this car has a full size wheel here on the back. As you can see, it says Defender First Edition. This is the first edition of the 130. Again, you get the tail lights here and the blinkers as well. Some tow hooks here, so you can tow people that are stuck. Now let's quickly look at the luggage space. I got some bags here in the back. And as you can see, a pretty big 5th door here. I think it's pretty funny that this door opens that way, because this is not very handy in basically almost everywhere in the world where people drive on the right side, because you would park the car on the right side of the road and then you have to walk around the door to access the luggage space. But in Britain, they park on the left side, so then it's more convenient that the door opens like this. And I think it's a bit weird and a bit funny that the door opens like this, considering the fact that they sell most of the Defenders on places where they drive on the right side of the road, but I guess that's what the Brits are like, and I actually think that's quite funny. Good on them. Alright, let's look at the luggage space. Now, this car has 3 seating rows, so there's not much luggage space. As you can see, it's about 390 liters, which actually sounds more than it looks like, because this is quite a narrow space, but it's quite high, so you could fit like 2 big suitcases, I guess. You can actually lower the car here, just like a regular Defender. If you press this, the car, not sure if you can see, yeah, so the car will actually lower down here. And now it's low, now it's on the low points. Let me get it up. There you see the car will rise again. And so that makes it easier to load stuff. So now the car is actually pretty high up. Anyway, let's continue our tour of the luggage space. You can all fold down the headrest here. They all fold down already. And then you can press these levers and then just push. Now, as you can see, you can fold down the seats individually, which is quite handy. For example, if you just want to have the middle seats down, if you want to carry some long stuff, that you can do that quite easily. All right. In this configuration, with the third row down, you get about 1200 liters of luggage capacity. Now, of course, you can also fold down the rear seats. Let's quickly do that now. I'm going to show you in a minute what it's like to sit here on these seats, but let's quickly lower them down so you can see how massive the luggage capacity is. Now, as you can see, basically you got a moving truck here. The capacity now is 2300 liters, but you can also get this car just as a 5-seater, so without the third row, and then you get 2500 liters. You could easily fit a mattress in here and just go camping. It is actually insane. Let's quickly get this out of the way so you can see how massive this car is on the inside. So if you're looking for a car that can carry a lot of stuff, this is definitely the car to get. Now let's get all these seats back up and I'm going to show you what it's like to sit on the third row and on the second row. Alright, all the seats are up. Let me quickly demonstrate how you get into the third row of this car. This is actually not the easiest car to get into the third row. So what you do is you pull this lever and then this seat will go forward. You can slide it a little bit and then this is basically the opening that you have. You cannot put this seat down and flip it up. This is all you get. So quite a narrow gap. Let me get one foot in the door. The second, yeah, this is actually, a bit rough, I'd say. But okay, it's still doable, especially if you're like a little kid or anything. But this car will actually fit people that are bigger than kids, because as you can see, I'm somewhat comfortable here, and I'm 1.80 meters, so not the tallest, but definitely not the shortest, and I'm actually somewhat comfortable. The seat is actually still pretty far back, because I could easily fit over there, and I can still fit my knees behind here without much trouble. There's not a lot of room for my feet here, especially because, well, basically the wheels are getting in the way. But what I do really like is the fact that you actually get heated seats here all the way in the back. That's pretty cool. You also got some ventilation going on here and a cup holder, and you even got your own panoramic roof. And you can close it here, you can open it manually or like close it off. So that's pretty cool to have. And as you can see, the seats are pretty decent, but I would say the seat in the middle is very narrow, so this is probably not a seat where you want to sit if you're like an adult. Yeah, and I can confirm this is not the best seat, but I would say the outer seats are pretty cool. What is also pretty cool is the fact that you can even hold child seats here. You got ISOFIX points here on this seat and on this seat, and also on the lower on the outer seats on the second row, and also on the passenger seat in the front. So in total you can actually carry 5 baby seats in this car. Again, pretty impressive. Alright, let's get out of the third row and into the second row. As you can see, again, a pretty narrow gap, and then you get this high step off. Alright, let's pull these seats backwards. Let me pull this one, or okay, there you go. As you can see, a lot of space here on the second row. Again, I'm 180 and I've got plenty of room for my legs here. This middle seat is actually a lot more comfortable than the middle seat in the back. It's a lot bigger. Still, it's not a full-size seat, but it's not bad. It actually holds an armrest here in the middle with 2 cup holders. And of course, you also got heated seats here in the back as well. You can even get cooled seats here in the back as well. In the center you got 3 dials here that you can use to operate a lot of stuff here in the back. For example, the heated seats, but also the climate controls. You got some air vents here. What I also really like here in the back is the massive panoramic roof that you got here. So there's not just glass over there, but also here on top you got this big sheet of glass, which looks pretty cool if you sit here in the back. Now, if you know anything about a Defender, you might have noticed that this car, let me quickly get this one out of the way, doesn't have the safari roofs over there, the safari windows. Because in a Defender 110, you can get the little side windows in the roof of the car, so you can look out of the car when you're all the way in the back. And what I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video is the fact that you can get the Defender 110 with a 3rd row, but only with 2 small seats. So you don't get the 3 bigger seats, or at least the 2 bigger seats and the smaller one in the middle. So the Defender 110 with the 3rd row is a 7-seater, and this 130 is an 8-seater. Alright, let's look at the interior of the Defender. Just like the exterior design, the interior design really hasn't changed compared to a Defender 90 or Defender 100. And that means that you basically got a pretty good mix of roadiness and robustness and, well, classiness, because this car looks very classy here in the interior. You got a lot of nice soft brown leather. You also got a lot of wood here in the interior, and I'm pretty sure that it's bespoke to the 130. I don't think you can actually get that on the 90 and the 110. So that is pretty cool to see. In the center you got the PV Pro infotainment system, just like on the 90 and the 110. You got the bigger 11.6 inch infotainment screen here. It's a very nice screen to look at. It looks like almost like an iPad from Apple. And the system that runs on it is pretty fast. And you can especially notice it when you're zooming in and out of the navigation screen. That goes really fast. And that's usually a sign that there's a lot of compute power in the system. Then let's talk about the handling of this car. Again, it's not much different compared to a Defender 110. Like I said, the wheelbase is still the same. The wheelbase is around 3 meters, so pretty big, but not bigger than the 110. That means that this car basically drives exactly the same as a Defender 110, except for the fact that you got a lot more weight in the back. Actually around 250 kilos, which is quite a lot, I'd say. So I guess if you would drive this car very sporty, you're gonna notice it in the back, but this is not really a car that you're gonna drive sporty. I do have to say that this car is actually quite fast, because I'm driving the 400 horsepower P400 version. Now let me quickly take you through a couple of versions that you got, because this car still has the same drivetrains as a regular 90 and a 110, except from the fact that there are a couple of drivetrains missing in this car. For example, you cannot get this car as a plug-in hybrid, and there's a very good reason for that. First of all, because this car would become way too heavy. The car I'm driving right now already weighs 2,600 kilos, which is a lot. But if you would put an extra battery pack in this car would even weigh a lot more. And then in some countries, they wouldn't even let you on the road with such a heavy car. And then the other reason is the fact that this car basically has no room for a battery pack. The extra room that you got has been taken up by the 3rd row, so there's no extra room for a big battery pack. And thus, you are not able to get a P400e plug-in hybrid version of this Defender 130. What you also cannot get is a V8 in this car at this moment. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to introduce it later, just like with the Defender 90 or the 110. But they might not do that at all, for the same reason that they're not introducing a plug-in hybrid version, because then the car would become too heavy. So for now, the car I'm driving right now is the most powerful version that you can get. This car has a 3-liter 6-cylinder producing 400 horsepower, like I said. And I would say that's actually plenty for a car like this. This car would do 0 to 60 miles or 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.3 or 6.6 if you're doing kilometers, which is just pretty damn fast for a car this size. Obviously, this car doesn't feel or handle like a sports car. And even if you're doing 0 to 60 miles an hour in only 6.3 seconds, it doesn't feel that fast. But in the back of your mind, you do know that this is a pretty big and heavy car. So in your mind, it feels fast, but just in your tummy, it just doesn't feel that fast. But it is fast enough. So this car isn't really meant for fast driving. Obviously, it's a Defender, duh. However, this car is made for the road, which is a bit confusing because when you think of the Defender, you think about off-roading, obviously, and that original Defender was horrible on roads. It's a terrible car to drive on roads. I mean, I love the car, but it's just not a good driving car on the roads. This car, however, can do both. This car is an amazing off-roader. The car has proven that already the past couple of years, and even like old school Defender fans start to like this car because of its off-road capabilities. But like I said, this car is also meant for the road, and that sets this car really apart from the old school Defender. The ride is completely different. It's still good at off-roading, but it is amazing at driving on roads. So that's it for this quick tour around this brand new Land Rover Defender 130. If you like the video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, and why not subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.